And here we are. It's the grand finals of EPT North America, and there's not a single Korean in it. And even more importantly than that, we've got an American, or not an American, an Americas player in the finals. It's Trigger, it's Clem. That is tremendously exciting. And by the way, the run, the most insane run that Trigger had to do to get here is ridiculous. He takes down Byun 2-1. And in the macro games, he looks very, very solid. Byun was not, he looked better than Byun. Pretty long and short of it. And then he goes, and then he plays MaxPax. I don't know what happened in that series, but he 2-0s the king of PvP in PvP. So he takes down arguably the two best players in an online format, back to back. Now I don't know if that's going to be a difference. I don't know if Clem, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it a third time. Clem is really Clem's PvT is really solid. In fact, if we want to take a look at Aligulac, Aligulac says 94%. Trigger has never beaten Clem, but there's a first time for everything. And if there's a day that Trigger can do it, it is absolutely going to be Trigger with home server advantage after riding the high of taking down MaxPax and Byun. Like that is a day you can hang your hat on. That is a day you can feel really, really good about. So I think it's possible. I don't know that it's likely, but I am so excited to find out. So for now, we got a bit of a more aggressive option coming out of Byun early on. It's Barracks Double Gas Factory Expand. So this is the TVT build that found its way into this matchup. This is a build that really dominated last year's TVT. We've started to see more variants in that matchup. Reaper expands, Proxy Reapers, a bunch of other stuff. Like it's cracked its way open a little bit more with the Raven nerfs, or really with the Raven rework. But this game is this build is actually something that is really just kind of flown over to TVP a little bit. Gives you aggressive options, means you can put value down or put pressure down early game. And Clem is putting pressure early game. He's building 2 Reapers at a time. He's got Hellions on the way. He's got Marines running across here, and Trigger is not going to expect this, but he can still micro against it. So Stalker only takes shield damage, kills a Marine in the exchange, and now as Reapers rally over, Trigger has to be very careful. Meanwhile, this probe on the right side, not doing all that much. Just patrolling. Just looking for value, just looking for time. Reapers are going to show up here. This is a dead Adept. They can kite out. Just like, yeah, this is dead. There is no saving it, but it is a solid scout. Now, Trigger knows, okay, there are multiple Reapers here. There are Hellions on the map. I saw Marines moving out on the map as well. This is aggressive. This is very aggressive coming out of Clem. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know it's aggressive. I know it is Clem trying to put pressure on. So I got wall off my main, my natural maybe. I have to move forward here. He's going to snipe. There we go. The Hellion will fall. And there's that proxy. Finally, the probe putting itself to some good use. And is this a gateway? Blink is about halfway done, but it's the third base as well. So I don't think this is gateway pressure. What else could it be? I mean, it's too close to the Terran base for it to be Dark Shrine. I'm excited to find out what it is regardless. And Clem on the right side here, double Medivacs. It is a Dark Shrine. That's a very exposed Dark Shrine position, but I guess that's also why Clem is not going to scout it. So Stalkers are in excellent position here to make sure that this drop on the main base doesn't find all that much. And bad news for Trigger, there's a Raven on the way. That invalidates this entire, well, potentially, partially invalidates this entire idea. But if Clem moves out, right, with the Raven tank pressure, as he is wont to do, I mean, even as I say that, though, there's no stim on the way. Stim's not done. This is, stim is going to get started soon. There we go. Stim combat shield's on the way, but this is like a 7-minute timing. All right, the Dark Shrine will be done by then. Will be long done by then. So this times out very well against like a 6:30-ish stim timing, one of these early aggressive options that Terrans really love to go for, where you run across the map 6 minutes 6:30, you have, maybe it's a 2-1-1, maybe it's a 3 racks, whatever it is, like you are on the map and you are putting pressure on, and that pulls the Raven forward. But the Dark Shrine's now done, and okay, 6 gateways on the way, going up to, so it's 8 gate charge, 8 gate charge lot DT, soon to be Archons. I guess the play here. Clem committing really hard to this, or Trigger's committing really hard to this, but I just don't see this working. I could see a world where this works, absolutely, but I just do not like the build. Now, this is a dead tank. Well done, Trigger. Catches Clem on the move out, and if you get the Raven. If you get the Raven, this is starting to feel very doable, but the Raven gets pulled back quite a ways. In fact, Clem is starting to smell something here. That SCV, or excuse me, that Raven gets a lot. Meanwhile, Widowmine drop. This is Trigger's weakness right now. This is how Maru killed him in WTL, and he loses 6 more workers here. But this is on 3 bases. It's not as bad as it otherwise would have been. Meanwhile, DT's run forward. One will split it off. Actually, whoa, no, it's gotten. One barely escaped. One barely doesn't escape, but there's a second one here. There's a Raven, though, so Clem will take no damage from this at all, and that's going to be that. Doesn't find the Dark Shrine, though. But now Chargelot's thinking about a flank here, and I think feels like Trigger's dead. I know that was said about Trigger against Maru in that game that he should have won, but it really does feel like Trigger's just dead here. The build order is just it does not match up well, but these Zealots make a big difference. The problem is that this army from Clem is insurmountable. I don't know that Trigger's going to be able to build a big enough army to really deal with this for the most part. Widowmine's friendly fire, nice enough. But for every bit of damage that these Zealots get, the rally should eventually deal with this. This is a dead third. That's the bare minimum here, and now you drop into the main base. Trigger can't respond easily. Widowmines deal with a decent amount of these Zealots. SCVs are going to get pulled a little bit, and the Zealots are killing a gas. They're clicked onto a gas. Widowmines get more, and this is just not working for Trigger at all. The drop in the main base, insurmountable. The army, unbeatable here. There is no tech incoming. There's no value incoming. And Clem actually is just going to back up a little bit. Brings his army together once again, goes on the low ground. More shield batteries will fall. A Marine and Marauder on the high ground, just representing more threat. Here it's a dead Immortal as well. Clem just out multitasking everything. Second Immortal gets tagged, shield, or concussive shells, more than enough. And Clem, folks, is just running over this game. But I don't think it's fair to say, wow, you know, Clem is just better. He is so far above Trigger at this point that it, you know, this is going to be a 3-0 series. Trigger's build did not line up well with Clem's. Is I think the best way to say that. Trigger's build did not line up well with Clem's. Trigger was trying to hit with DTs as Clem moved out of the map. It just barely didn't work out. The Raven there was just a problem. So instead, Trigger committed to all this tech. None of it worked out, and he is very dead. 12 workers down. 20 army supply down. Maybe you can rely on DTs or something. Disruptors are out. I mean, game is never truly done if there are disruptors on the field, but it's feeling rough. Though. Production hurting a little bit. He had to add, he had 2 barracks on the, he's going to get this disruptor. It's just not going to get a shot. He had 2 barracks on the way. Clem, that's a big shot. All of a sudden, wait a second here. Trigger down within 5 army supplies. A Widowmine gets a solid shot off, and game's never over where there are disruptors. That's the long and short of it. Even still, though, Trigger's on a base and a half. He's got 4 out of 8 mineral patches sitting there on the main. His natural is kind of, he's gonna start mining out somewhat quickly as well. I mean, 300 minerals there on the low bases. He needs more. He needs a 3rd base somehow, or he needs to crack his opponents, and this is the best opportunity he's going to have with that disruptor shot. I mean, it was absolutely massive, but even still, Clem runs forward here, only with half his army, but it's got personal healing. There are so many medevacs on the map. This fight just doesn't feel all that great, so now missile turrets in the main base, or in the natural, in the 3rd of... Actually, is there one in the 3rd? No, there's not. And the Raven is dead. It died at some point in this game. So maybe DTs, maybe Dark Templar are going to be enough to make this happen as the pressure happens on the left side. Army moves in, but again, doesn't find anything. Where are our DTs? They're actually not doing anything. Where are they? I see workers die. Oh, there we go. Into the natural. Or into the third base. 5 workers fall. Not more than that, though. And even still, oh, army on the front here. Disruptor. Yeah, it's not getting a shut off. Tap down. And Trigger now. He's got... Oh, wait. There we go. He's got 1 Dark Templar. 9 Stalkers. Soon to be even less here as Clem runs forward. He doesn't have the best upgrades, but that's fine. His Trigger's dead. It was just a slow grave. It took a it's winter time. Took a long time to dig that grave 6 feet under, but regardless. And here we are. In the bottom left, in the red. He's up. Excuse me, he's down a game. What am I saying? He's down a game. It really was some rough build order interactions there, more than anything else. Let's see if we can tie it up here. It's Trigger. And in the upper right, in the blue, just relentless aggression. And I mean, this is just what we expect out of Clem, but it's still true. He's up 1. It's Clem. Let's see where we go. For now, it's an eBay block on the natural because Clem has decided to be an absolute dick. But it's going to get scattered for the most part. In fact, actually, Trigger is just going to pull everything on this. We saw what this happened. We saw this actually happen last series where he played Byun. And we saw, Byun eBay blocked it. And the relentless, just Hellions in the net, it's a problem. Right? It is very difficult for anyone, really, for the Protoss to defend the third base and the main, which is why you eBay block on this map. So Trigger this time is like, you know what? I am willing to accept the income loss, as we can see right there. Clem just spike a little bit. I am willing to accept the income loss because I know that I do not want to face a Clem that has the most insane run by potential possible. Like, it feels so hard to play this game. Meanwhile, by the way, Clem is committing to pressure, except this time it's not reliant on keeping the natural out of position or, putting it on the third. No, he's just proxying a starport as close as possible and also in a position that I don't think Trigger's going to scout. Not really. He's going to go and he's going to look at the corners and position he's checking, by the way, is the standard proxy starport position, but in the middle of the map, right there. Yeah, no, you're not looking for that one. You don't, no. It's not going to be there, but it is actually going to be there. Is Clem a little slow on his production. He's finding himself supply block just a little bit here, but it's going to be more than fine. So, you know what? I actually like this for Trigger, though. Despite the fact that Trigger has not scatted any of this whatsoever, he has gone for a start. Well, he saw the lack of a natural, but other than that, he really doesn't know all that much. Even still, he's gone for a Phoenix opener, and a Phoenix opener against this type of build is oh so very nice, but the problem is this is so fast. This is so fast. This was proxy before, like, even the command center got made, that might not be enough Phoenix. There are 2 on the map right now, and there we go. Hellions in the main base. 3 of them are going to get dropped. 2 get lifted. Well, excuse me, 1 gets lifted, but it's 3 that are the massive damage here, so 4 workers go down, kiting around. You got to get 8. That's the magic number here. And it seems like for now, 5 will fall. We need to see the lifts here, Trigger. 6 workers. Well, a second shot, maybe a third. Hellion gets more. That's 8. Okay, in this context, this is a disaster. This is so bad for Trigger right now. He committed to the build order counter and he did not hold. No, this is if you proxy the starport, you want to get 8 workers, right? That's kind of the magic number right there. That is the cost effectively of delaying everything. But if you're playing a game like this and you have the Phoenix play, and there were 2 Phoenix out on the map, so the way you hold that, by the way, if you're curious, you lift the first 2. You lift the first 2 Hellion that drop out, which means it takes 2 shots instead of 1. You kind of sick your ground units on the Hellions as they try to run around, and you wait for that third Phoenix to pop out, and you start and you kill Hellions. And then eventually you have the hold. But Trigger decided he wanted to kill Hellions faster in the air, so he lifted 1 and let 3 run around. The difference between 1-shotting and 2-shotting probes in terms of how well you can defend it is so different. It's such a big deal. So now Trigger's in, quite honestly, a pretty rough spot. Now Adepts are going to try to find their way into the natural, but with the Cyclones and the Marines, this just doesn't feel like it's going to get all that much done, even with 5 Phoenix here. It feels like there's just a little bit too much. So Trigger, Templar Archives, or Twilight Council going down, additional gateways going down. He's got to find some room back into this game. And in fairness, you know, worker count is back up in favor of Trigger. He's been able to chrono out. That's fine. Third base now on the way. But if I'm Trigger, the thing I'm worried about, the thing that I am waking up in terror in the middle of the night about, is this push that's going to come out from Clem in about a minute. Maybe a little bit less. It's going to have stim. It's going to have combat shields. It's also going to have medevacs. It's going to just be this heavy marine pressure. And with charge might be done for this. Not actually sure. But because Trigger is having to spend so much money on reestablishing his economy, because again, he lost 8 workers. Having to spend so much money on reestablishing that, his army supply is not going to be as good as he would like. And yes, Phoenix Charge is a powerful anti-stim timing. But in the context of this game, I'm not sure that is going to make enough of a difference. But in fairness to Trigger, he's got +1 getting chronoed out. He's on 4 gateways. He's not being too greedy, and he's not being too defensive. He's building himself up to the timing where Clem wants to move out on the map. And actually, as Clem goes for oh, this is so ballsy from Clem. This is actually, he's double dropping a player that has 6 Phoenix on the map. But I guess he knew where the Phoenix were, so he did feel comfortable getting out on the map here. And if he gets away with this, oh, it's murder. Oh, it's a problem, because Trigger thinks he's safe from any drops. He thinks he's okay. And he's getting away with it. The Phoenix are just so far away right now. And the drop, thinking about it, boosting into the main base right. It doesn't even feel they need a boost. +1 might even be the target. He can delay the upgrades, but he's just going to drop onto the mineral line. Adepts are just not enough here at all whatsoever. So 3 workers go down, pick up, run away. But now the Phoenix are a problem. So, oh, this is going to depower +1. This is such a nasty position, and it's a full scout. So you gotta, well, actually, it's not going to depower +1. Gateways don't get targeted down. It's just going to be dead Phoenix. Meanwhile, on the right side here, Zealots are just not in position, not just yet. That's a dead Robo. Widowmines have to burrow. 1 burrows up, second one dies, and now just cutting backwards here. +1's not done, but the Zealots, so many will fall. Not quite as good for Clem as he would have liked. Only 5 workers die, and he doesn't delay the +1, and now he's marooned on the map here just a little bit. Wait a second here. This is actually looking pretty solid for Trigger. Zealots, with a Phoenix as well, you don't run from this. Your army just dies. You do not run. You have to just take the fight as well as you can. And that's going to be something. But even still, Trigger, he's kind of stabilized. Up 3 workers, up a little bit army supply. It's not ideal. I mean, you want to be 60, 70 workers at this point, especially playing this heavy charge lot, heavy Phoenix charge lot style. But in the context of things, not all that bad. Clem does not have his third base up yet. He really was committing to this pressure. So, yeah, you can survive this. And this Zealot count, Zealots coming in from the backside. No, actually, no, they're not. It's just a flank. Trapping that army with Zealots would have been incredible. Even still, Widowmines are gorgeous here. And that's going to work out really nicely for Clem. So Trigger thought he had an opportunity, and he did, absolutely. But now the army thinking about stimming down the ramp. That's a dead Zealot. Anything they tag dies the other way. It's kind of funny, the army dynamics here, because it's so hard. It's so hard to run away from a charge lot Phoenix army. But on the flip side, at least this Phoenix positioning is beautiful. Gets a medevac, gets heavy damage on another. On the flip side, if the Protoss player loses the fight, it's really hard for the Protoss player to run. So you're just kind of locked into fights regardless of who you are, which is really awkward and kind of feels hard to play if you're behind. But Clem scans out the Zealot count. He doesn't want to take this fight. He does not have this flash. So he's pressuring. He's posturing. He's trying to kill as many Phoenix as he can to give himself an attacking or an escape angle. And really, and we don't have the gas for this, by the way, yet. Clem is only on 2 bases still. Oh, this is a problem. They can trap him into a corner here. Zealot's looking for the massive flank, trapping him into a wall, but he's able to kite away. Phoenix continue to go down here. Zealots, they're getting on top of the Marines. They're kiting away more and more. Widowmine burrows, but gets lifted here, and Clem has to kite away, and he just cannot fight in range of the Immortal. It's too damn strong. So Trigger, despite down in supply, is actually finding a massive fight, forcing Clem back into the natural, back into the waiting arms, the reinforcements, and that's not where Trigger wants to be. So again, Trigger over chases, and now this time, it's not just a Marine, it's not just a Zealot that will fall. This is a dead Immortal, and again, Clem gets the punish. And these Phoenix, by the way, not a lot of energy. In fact, one of them will go down very quickly. So Clem scans out the 4th base as he takes his 3rd, but this is just it's not there. It's a 4th base on the way. It's a 4th base on location, but it's not a 4th base done yet. And Clem has just been trading very well over the last 2-3 minutes or so. Despite how powerful that Zealot army looked, you add an armor upgrade onto things, you just start to kite back more and more. And as the supply starts to crest 120, 130, 140 for the Terran, this pure Zealot army just doesn't do a lot. So Clem crests the high ground, forces a cancel on the 4th base, and now just takes the fight with the Zealots before everything is really ready. Widowmine's gonna burrow up here. Massive shots on the backside as well. Even as the attempted draw does a solid job, this army, for the most part, is still very happy, very healthy. Phoenix count just not enough to knock these medevacs from the skies. There's like 1 Phoenix left. So it's gonna eventually maybe kill things off, but the kiting from Clem is beautiful. It's gorgeous, and he's gonna re-engage once again. The Zealots are all gone. 1 medevac survives, and that's really all that Clem needs. More Immortals die. And this is just, this has got to be it at this point. 113 supply to 69. Nice. But it's 18 army supply. Even as Clem, his economy not doing as well as Trigger's for most of this game, he just had a better army. And now, Trigger had the hard counter build. He took too much damage despite that, and Clem kind of steamrolls him. And game 2 goes the way of the young Frenchman once again. And now we're looking at tournament point. In the upper left, in the red, he's down 2 games, but maybe he can make something happen. I mean, he 2-0'd MaxPax, he 2-1 Byun. He has shown that power. For Basilisk, it's Trigger. In the bottom right, in the red, up 2 games to 0, just looking incredible. It's Clem. And where do we go? That's the solid question. How does this series evolve? Clem has shown a rather macro game. I think, in fairness, it was, he did go Barracks Double Gas Factory expand. He did, he did reactor out a couple Reapers. But even still. Even still, we've had a more kind of mid-game focused game. We had one game where Clem just proxied everything and was obnoxious and kind of won the game off that, even if Trigger had the build order counter. And I think that more than anything else might end up being the death knell in this series, because if you're Trigger and you open Phoenix against Proxy Starport, that should be you winning the game. Long and short of it, or at least building yourself an advantage. Realistically, maybe 1 or 2 probes go down before you have everything out. But even still, I mean, the timings work out, so you should be able to deny the 1 shot, and then you should be okay, and you should not lose that game. But Clem found value anyways. He got 8 workers against the fact that he got 8 workers against a bunch of Phoenixes is just it's kind of insane, actually, if you think about it. So now, this is probably the most standard game of the bunch. It's a Reaper expand out of Clem. It's a it's a Twilight opener coming out of Trigger. I'm assuming it's a Blink opener. I mean, it could be DTs, but he's tried that game number 1 and didn't really work out super well. So let's see what direction he decides to go here. And more importantly, I guess in the context of this series, what direction Clem decides to go, because it really has been Clem that's been setting the tempo for the most part. It really is Clem that's the one that is doing such a good job of finding value, of knocking his opponent down, of multitasking and winning games that he really shouldn't win. Or finding value, I guess, where he really shouldn't find that value. And it really has been incumbent upon Trigger to take the game, to find the value in this series. Or it really has, sorry, it's been incumbent for Trigger really to defend over the course of this series, but there we go. All right, one gateway done, second gateway on the way, Blink, Robo. So this is 2-gate Blink coming out of Trigger here, moving into, and this, by the way, is the build. This is the style, I guess, even more than a build, that we saw Trigger use to great effect when he took down Byun 2-1. It was these games where he went 2-gate Blink Robo, getting a Robo Bay, moving into Colossus Tech, that really showed the power that Trigger has been able to build for himself from playing in Jönköping, and then staying in the Netherlands for a month, and Zoidland for a month, and then playing in Home Story Cup, and doing all this, and just really playing on low ping against these really solid players, practicing for that 2-3 weeks, almost. I guess it was almost a month, month-long time. So we're really seeing that come out of Trigger's play here. But this is so this is Blink into Charge Lot Archon, and this is again another attempt at constraining or curtailing the aggressive builds that Clem has been going for. I mean, Clem has been going for these 6-minute, 6:30, 7-minute stim timings with delayed bases, and if you have Charge Lot Archon into that is a very solid option. We saw that in game number 2, where it felt a couple times like Clem might get trapped into a wall and just lose everything. Oh, never mind. Okay, Charge Lot Storm. And this is actually, everything I'm saying about how this is just a beefy army. This is just a solid army that allows Trigger to take fights against low to medium supply Terran armies that have upgrades. Well, this is different now. This gets a little more problematic because this is an extremely binary composition. You get Storm that is tremendously expensive coming out of what Trigger wants to do. You will not have. This will not be one of those games where Charge Lot Archon or something, and you're looking at the supply, and it's like, wow, the Protoss, despite the Terran going aggressive, the Protoss is actually up in supply. They just been building Zealots, and they've chronoing out Zealots, and they got all these gateways. You don't get as many gateways in this style. You move on up to 7 gateways. Actually, I guess this is, yeah, you go up to 7 gateways this time. You build a bunch of High Templar early on, but you are really cutting corners to get Storm out at a decent time. And actually, this is a Storm drop. Okay. Huh. I worry now that all the we're talking about Storm, by the way, is this defensive tool, this ability to drop Storms on Clem to soften everything up to win the fight, to really find tempo in the game. But instead, where's this Warp Prism? Okay, maybe not. I thought with the High Templar moving in the Warp Prism immediately, I thought this might have been some sort of, well, okay, we're gonna go Storm drop. We're gonna go run across the map. We're gonna drop High Templar in Clem's base. We're gonna kill off his economy. It's gonna be fine, which is a super gutsy call because you need that to deal. You need those Storms to deal with this push. But instead, he just wants to make sure that these High Templar are not scouted. He wants to make sure that there is 0 chance they go down before the fight happens here. And by the way, Clem has no ghosts. This is a 7-minute timing. +1 is done in 5 seconds, and that is exactly what Clem's looking for. Now, there's a shot here. With the Warp Prism, you can drop the Raven, you can drop an Interference Matrix, and make that happen. But here comes the fight. Storms on the Marines are beautiful, and Trigger is just shredding everything. The tanks go down, Auto Turret gets dropped, Archon should fall, and the High Templar, well, they're actually, that is, of course, going to be the shutdown. That's the Interference Matrix. So it's kind of a rough fight for Clem. He loses a lot of those Marines, 19 Marines, a tank. But at the very least, he trades for an Archon. He trades for an Immortal. Did he get High Templar? No, he didn't. But at least he shut down the additional 2 Storms coming out of that drop. So now, Clem holds on. He's got his 3rd base on location, by the way, out of this push. That's what these early stim timings do. They kind of give you a pretty quick 3rd. And now that he's aware of what he's dealing with, we should see right now, yeah, Ghost Academy going down right now. But Trigger doesn't want to give him that time. That is not how this build works. You smash the push, and then you go counterattack, smash again. Zealots run forward. Widowmine gets one, and now we're looking for more storms here. Storms go forward, but it's actually really solid pre-splits. Even still, that third storm is gorgeous. SCV's gonna have to get pulled into this. This is a problem right now. Clem down in supply. He needs those reinforcements, but they're not just ready yet. Even still, that Archon is gonna pop up here, not targeted while it's morphing. Instead, the Stalkers, they're gonna take heavy damage here, but no Widow Mines for the Zealots. And now Clem around a corner. Corners are not a Protoss player's best friend, so 3 workers fall. But Clem actually takes a pretty solid fight. And that was probably best case scenario there coming out of Trigger. He got beautiful storms on the backside. Clem was not ready. He actually got some worker storms as well. Widow Mines got Stalkers. They didn't get Zealots. I mean, that was the ideal fight for Clem. Or ideal fight for Trigger. And even still, like at best, it trades even. At best, it just kind of equalizes things. And now Ghosts are starting to enter the field. +1 armor just about done. Armory halfway done here. We're starting to see Clem really get into it. Really get into his ish. Like, he is really where he needs to be. More medevacs on the way. Ghosts, of course. Marines. Storm drop on the other side. 8 SCVs. That's much better. That is starting to put a little bit of a vice grip on Clem's position. He was on almost 60 workers, and you're very fine there as a Terran. Going out of 49, maybe not all that great as Widow Mine drop goes off, but there are, of course, cannons here, so probes are going to get pulled, and, hey, it gets 11? Is there a drop elsewhere? No, I guess the probes were clumped up, and I didn't see it. I thought that was one probe, but I guess 11 workers go down. Okay. That actually was really solid, even as we're still on 68 probes. Meanwhile, Zealots on the run by here. Reinforcements not quite in position yet. This is a nice... Oh, man, that's a wonderful joke. And this 4th base feels very difficult for something to happen here. But there are Colossus on the field right now. Widow Mines are going to burrow up. And well, actually, they're not going to get all that much. Shield battery overcharge is a powerful thing indeed, even as EMPs get dropped. And the Raven shuts down this. Trigger cannot hold despite everything. Never mind. I'm sorry. I thought I saw Trigger say GG. Trigger takes the game. We're moving on to game 4. Didn't Trigger say GG? I could have sworn that was a red name. I could have sworn that was a red name. And here we are. It's Ancient Cistern in the upper right in the red. Playing a pretty solid game. Storm drops. Love to see it. See if he can match it up. Let's see if we're going to go to game number 5 for Basilisk. It's Trigger. And the bottom left in the blue, up 2 games to 1 and looking solid, looking dominant in those first 2. It's Clem. And where do we go? Where do we go in this game number 5? It's a very... Clem, by the way, seems like he's going to go for a eBay block once again. He's got the timing on it, sends the SCV on a bit of an awkward path. So, eBay block, yeah, good enough. As long as it's in the hit box there, it's going to be fine. But the probe finds this very quickly as well, so Clem's going to get like a third of it. You know, it's something. But it's not quite as obnoxious as if he'd got like the full thing up there. And Trigger has shown this propensity for pulling probes. So really, oh, he's going to do it again. Drop a second eBay. Do it. Oh, too many probes there. It's not going to work out. So Trigger, he's going to get his Nexus down. Okay. Clem was trying to get a second eBay down. It wasn't going to work. But it was a fun idea, you know? You can appreciate the chutzpah. You can appreciate as the cojones, maybe. Regardless, Trigger gets his natural down. It's delayed a little bit, and certainly pulling the probes is kind of rough as well, right? You do lose out on mining a little bit. But Clem wanted that third. He wanted the natural in the third base. He really did want to force Trigger to go and have to go and do something somewhere else. He wanted to make it hard for Trigger to defend the main base and the third at the same time. So now, He's still going to go aggressive here, right? This is still a barracks double gas factory expand. This is still a delayed command center, but it's not quite as valid. It's not quite as powerful as it might have otherwise been if that was going to be a trigger that was spread out, was, you know, in a position that's a little bit harder to defend. So now Marines go forward. Damage on the Adept, not enough to kill it. But this is a 2-on-1 out of Clem. This is a quick... I mean, realistically, this will play like a 2-1-1 that you see against a Zerg player. For the most part, you get barracks, double gas. Well, you get your barracks, you get stim, you get medevacs, and never mind. Third barracks on the way. I lied. I do horrible things like that sometimes. But third barracks now on the way. So Clem just building his way up into the mid game, into that pressure, building up into something like a 6-minute timing. But he is rallying across the map right now, and this shield battery is not done. So lock on there on the high HP. Well, actually, that's really nice. So lock on's the high HP Adept. Kills that off, and hopefully he's going to get the low HP one with the second lock on now. But Stalkers warp in, and with the shield battery here, and with 2 pylons, I mean, this doesn't feel breakable with the scant resources that Clem has available to him. So for now, Clem's going to have to back up. He got an Adept. You know, he put pressure on. He maybe forced Trigger to make a mistake. I don't know. But for now, though, Trigger didn't make many mistakes. He, lost an Adept, but that's not the end of the world. Even if he would have preferred to lose the weak Adept, not the healthy one. Even still, Robo just about done. Blink just about done. 2 additional gateways on the way for a grand total of 4 as Trigger. He ate MaxPax. In that semifinals, he consumed him for his power because we have a 4-gate on the way. And that is interesting. That is not what I think. In fairness, when I think of Trigger, my mind is still stuck in the past. I'll still think of like heavy aggression, or heavy aggression coming out of Trigger, not 4 racks, but like proxies, or not 4-gate, but proxies and things like that. But Trigger's just going for the straight up 4-gate. And in the context of this game, I kind of like it. Yes, there are 3 barracks, and yes, stim is quick, and that is a solid solution to this. But there will be no splash damage. There will be no tanks. There will be nothing like that. Here's the army's kind of on the map. This is scary for Trigger right now. It's going to be a full collapse from Clem. Stalkers move in. Clem, when do you pull the trigger? Your stim is done here. This is your opportunity. But he's just not moving that army. It's taking its sweet time around. So the Stalkers, they're going to be able to blink back. Now Trigger sees it. And he's aware of the sandwich that's going to happen. Trying to trigger the fight, just blinks out. Okay, understands the threat that he is under here, so just run away, bring that army together, saves 1, but the Warp Prism gets a little bit low, stims again, but now the army very low, no stim available, but the Warp Prism goes down. And now Trigger doesn't really have the pressure that he might otherwise like, but Marauders fall, he gets Marines, and this is solid. Trigger making the best out of a bad situation, but he was not able to find the value that he wants, and I mean, he has build time on the Robo right now. He could build another Warp Prism, but he is trying to get Charge up. He's trying to get a Robo Bay up. He's trying to get other things up. His money is better spent elsewhere, so he doesn't really want to build another Warp Prism. Not after this pressure kind of failed, but it also was a solid scout. He knows what's happening now. So he's going to play on the ramp here, try to kill a Marauder. He's going to get a Marauder. Very nice, and not losing a single Stalker for that exchange. But he has to be careful because there are 8 Marines in a medevac here into the main base, and I don't know that Trigger's aware of this. He's fighting at the front. That's where his attention is. And this drop in the main. It's 8 Marines. They have stim. They don't have +1 yet, but they got stim. And they're just going to move into this mineral line. This is a lot of dead probes. Trigger, though, quick on the pulse, so should be okay. And that's a juicy pylon, right? Well, actually, it's not as juicy as I thought it was going to be, and it's not going to even shut down extended thermal lance. So Stalkers blink forward, but the army of Clem at the front here. This one might be a little bit scarier. Shield battery knocked down very clicky. Stalkers on the backside, though. Maybe they're going to get a little bit more. But the Bio gets on top of them here, and, well, you have concussive shells. These Stalkers don't run easily, not when they don't have blinks. So that's heavy damage. And meanwhile, Zealots or Marines in the main, they're getting a couple more. Just a couple more probes. They're gonna get 6, I think. Target fire? No target fire. They get 5. And now the Colossus is out. Now Trigger has that powerful defensive tool that he's been looking for. That really makes it hard for Clem to fight. Especially once Expended Thermal Lance is done. 10 range on the Colossus is a powerful, powerful thing. And that is a great force field as well. So Trigger starting to stabilize. Needs a little bit more money, of course. His economy is, you know, hurt by the drop coming out of that we saw from Clem. But his army supply looking really solid here as these Zealots are on move command, but well, they should be able to deal with it. Widowmines actually burrow too quickly, but Trigger baits it out for the most part. That's fine. Couple Zealots traded, but he gets Marines, he gets Widowmines. It's really not, it's, you know, fairly cost effective. The scary thing is that this pressure in the front, it's looking for that Colossus. It's trying to find that big, scary Warwalker, but it's not going to get it. Not yet. And now, Trigger, main base, solidly defended. Third base, solidly defended. He has taken pretty much every lick that Clem has thrown at him and come up more than equal. So now, resources lost, nearly identical. Trigger, though, the one thing we're looking at, the thing that he is lacking, but of course, with how much quicker you get your upgrades than the Terran does, between the buffs that they got before Katowice, and of course the fact that you have Chrono, he's going to be able to catch up. So now we're looking at 2 Colossus. Extended Thermal Lance done. 1-1 on the way. Second Robo getting added in, and we seem to be just entering the doldrums a little bit. Clem kind of coming to the realization that it's not going to be easy for him to go and break Trigger, at least not on 3 bases. But on the flip side, not going to be all that easy for Trigger to move out, not on this map, not into this Clem army, not into a Clem that just has armies everywhere, just waiting for Trigger to move. So both players establishing themselves in the mid game. The one thing that Trigger would like, and he's starting to get it now, would be that 4th base. So 4th base, 4th Nexus on the way. And Clem is getting very close to a maxed out timing here. His +1 attack, very close to completion. He's going to go, he's going to be on like 3 or 4 ghosts. He's got Vikings in the fray, and this is the next time where Trigger has to be very afraid. He has withstood the pressure from Clem early beautifully. The drop pressure, the multi-prong, the harass. But now you add Vikings. Now you go and you add EMPs here. Suddenly this army is a lot harder to deal with, and we don't have disruptors yet. Double Robo's done, but it's double, it's double Robo Immortal. That's kind of cool. With the amount of Marauders that we have in this army, 19 Marauders, they're going to fight very well indeed. So let's see what exactly Clem can make happen here. Zealots, a couple of them get shaved off early. That's fine. Force field is a bit awkward here as now the Zealots looking for the engage. Colossus just firing away. Those force fields are incredible. And so much of Clem's army, it feels like it should have gone down, but Clem hot saves it, picks it up, and Medivacs runs away. Trigger, though, just bought so much time. Now his upgrades are done. Now 2 more Colossus are on the way. That force field sectioned off half the army. Clem could, there was no way that Clem could fight anymore. That was just impossible. And now, Trigger, 170 supply, 1-1, 2-2 on the way. DT Blink on the way, 4th base secured, and just off of 1 set of force fields. I mean, he does so much there. It's actually ridiculous. And also the DT will fall, but it also tells Trigger where Clem is pushing. So, hey, that's a valuable DT in and of itself. And he's got a couple more on the map, even as Clem now adds in missile turrets and things of that nature. Now, Clem tries to move in. Shield battery overcharge, though, keeps the Colossus alive. And these Vikings are not doing enough. So, look at resources lost. Still equal. DTs are going to find more, but, well, that's a little bit awkward. Even still, Stalkers blink forward. They get a Ghost. They get a Marauder here. Now it's Clem. He's the one that's got to retreat just a little bit. Looks like he's losing the fight on the left side as well. Loses a Medivac here. And supplies don't really tell the story. All right, because you're like, oh, well, you know, Clem's Trigger's 170 supply. Clem's 200. He's up 20 army supply. Yeah, but look at the upgrades. Yeah, but there are 4 Colossus on the map. There's soon going to be 4 Immortals on the map. Trigger is... His army is worth... Actually, apparently, Clem's army is worth more in gas, which I didn't expect, but I guess that's what you get for having 10 Vikings. Trigger has a lot of complexity in his army right now, though, and if he's able to force the fight that he wants, it's going to be very hard for Clem to max out, especially now. Look at this, Clem, or to take the fight, especially now as Trigger is maxed out. EMPs on this army. Vikings are doing what they can. One Colossus falls. Second one starts to fall here. Zealots run around the force field, but the Colossus just playing keep away from the Vikings as well as they can. Stalkers bling on top as well. Clem, though, is just cleaning this fight up on the reinforcements as well. All the Vikings are done. And yeah, Clem has to back up a little bit, but that was a lot of the army of Trigger that just died. 20 army supply now in the good for Clem, but he needs his reinforcements to arrive. That's the big deal right now. And Clem, here come the reinforcements here. Zealots run in once again, 2 upgrades up. But now Clem. Looking still pretty solid here, but Trigger does stabilize. 2 more Colossus on the way, and I love that decision, by the way. Okay, well, you know what? That's fine. Trigger army supply lead. Clem was not paying attention. Disruptors, very good. Tremendously good. But anyway, with that, Trigger has now stabilized. He's got 2 Colossus on the way, and in part, I was saying I like that because Clem has 3 Vikings on the field right now. He's not building anymore. He has killed the Colossus in his mind. That threat is gone, so he doesn't have to worry about it. He's going to move into maybe Liberators eventually, maybe just more bio. It's really up to him, but he doesn't need a hard counter to these 10-range Colossus. And that means that this next fight is not going to be all that happy for Clem. Now, actually, the Widowmine, now he's aware of the Warwalker, so the army thinks about running forward. Now, this is the good upgrade timing, right? 2-2 versus 2-2, 3-3 on the way for Trigger, but it's not there yet. So, Clem, up a little bit in army supply, but not a ton. But more importantly, his upgrades are in a decent spot. And with the Ghost count here, I mean, that's just a beautiful EMP. Shield battery overcharge pop just to heal everything up again. Meanwhile, DT's just obnoxious elsewhere on the map, but they're not finding value. There are missile turrets everywhere. The DTs are not arriving in enough strength to blink on and kill. So Clem been able to max out once again, but so too has Trigger. And this game feels very... this is such a good fight for Trigger right now. The Bio can't fight, but the Colossus can. 10 range, thank you very much. So Trigger takes a positive fight once again. And somehow, despite this, despite everything, good fights on both sides, we're still within 400 resources of each other. But Trigger thinks about pulling the trigger there. It's not ready. Not just yet, but he wants to take this fight before the Vikings really come out in force. But now, we're at 6-7 Vikings. That Viking count is enough to really scare Trigger again. So, moving into Disruptors, moving into that late game to the next level, Trigger is having to change his composition once again. So let's see. Oh, that's a big EMP right there, but a couple SCVs will fall. And now Trigger did have an interesting position. He's trying to fight against the planetary Vikings. Really nice pot shots right there. 1 Colossus falls. Second one goes down. Third one as well. Massive surround coming on in from Clem from every single angle. And the Disruptors are just not going to be good enough here. They're all getting gunned down. But even still, second Disruptor shot. Third, Vikings land on top of everything. Does Trigger have enough here? It seems like actually he might. Massive surround comes in from every side, but Trigger wins the fight anyways? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Everything I knew about StarCraft says Trigger, no way. That is a well upgraded Terran army with the ghosts, with the Vikings killing off the Colossus before the fight, and it's a full 360 surround. And somehow Trigger wins the fight. What? What is this? That's actually ridiculous. As now the Zealots looking to re-engage. Trigger desperately thinking about taking us to game number 5, but he needs his reinforcements. He needs anti-airs. The Liberators start to join the field. He's got room for it though. 1,700 minerals in the bank here. 11 stalkers on the way. Trigger is in such a good spot right now. Trigger is in such an incredible spot. I'm lost for words. I'm struggling to wrap my mind around that fight, that defensive offensive fight that he was able to take. And now he's almost maxed out, but he still had to be careful here. The Terran bio is still really nice, and Clem still has these bases. So you got to be careful. And now this is going to be 1 free Disruptor. Actually, no, it's not. but the Marines are going to try to chase it down anyways. Trigger looks for the re-engage. Liberators are... Where are those Liberators? Anyway, Liberators somewhere getting value on the map. Bottom right side. Okay, so 8 workers dying to those Liberators. Starting to find Clem some economic way back into this game. Because this, on top of losing that fight that I really thought he was going to win, he lost a base. Realistically, Clem traded his base for killing off all the Colossus and what he thought was going to be a game-winning fight. Instead, somehow Trigger did it anyways, and now inside track into the natural here. This is, again, a scary position for Clem. Those disruptor shots are going to be... Oh, I can't believe that one didn't hit. Stims out again, loses a couple more Marines. One orbital will go down, and there are like 2-3 more shots on these disruptors available. I like the bunker, though. It's buying a little bit of time here. Clem looking for an angle, looking for an opportunity, and now he's going to find it. Finds his way onto a couple disruptors, but the stalkers zone out. Disruptors again don't find value. Third one. Last one, I think, actually, of this fight goes out. No, maybe that's the last one. Army moves forward right now. Clem with confidence, but he's going to tap out here. He understands that Trigger won that game. And now we move to game 5. I did not believe in this. I did not believe in the reverse sweep, but we're getting there, folks. We're getting that game 5. Oh, my. One more game. The massive underdog here, winning 2 games in a row for Basilisk. It's Trigger. And trying to claim the crown that he believes is so rightfully his, especially against this opponent. In the upper left, in the blue, it's Team Liquid's Clem. And I cannot believe. I can't get my mind over that fight. The fact that Clem goes full 360 surround, gets EMPs on everything, kills the Colossus before the fight even starts, and still Trigger wins it. Disruptor, maybe it's cross server, right? Disruptors, ping, valid. Also, upgrade lead. Trigger had 3-2. I think Clem was at 2-2 at the time. So, upgrade lead, certainly. Maybe a ping disadvantage. Regardless, that was insane. And now, we got one final game for all the marbles here. No eBay blocks, nothing tricky early. Just a standard macro game on Babylon. And I think realistically, having watched this series, having watched him beat Byun, Trigger in a macro game might even be favored against Clem. And that sounds crazy. I don't like saying that because I have so much respect for Clem. But at the very least, cross server, at the very least, when Trigger is the one with ping advantage here, I think he might be favored straight up in that macro game. I mean, and what a run this would be, by the way. Sometimes we see a North American player. They go and they win an EPT Cup. They make the finals. Like, okay, well, the run wasn't incredible. They had an easy bracket. This would be Byun MaxPax Clem. This would be Byun MaxPax Clem. And taking all of them down would just be... I have nothing left to say. So I'm unapologetically rooting for the Canadian phenom at this point. You have a run this good, I want to see it to completion. I really, really do. So for now, it's the same build that has been showing Trigger all of the success over the course of this series, and really over the course of this tournament. It's going to be a 2-gate blink expand and into a Colossus early, most likely. And that does seem to be really powerful right now. The early Colossus deals with a lot of early Terran aggression. We're not really seeing a lot of tank pushes at the moment, and especially not from Clem. And on top of that, the second round, when you maybe get your care or your armor timing, something like that, you have 10 range Colossus, and that can be really powerful. Or you can, if the Terran wants to turtle off, depending on how aggressive they decided to play, if they feel the need to turtle, then you have 10 range Colossus on the attack, and that's just really, really solid. So regardless of how you want to look at it, I mean, getting into those Colossus rather quickly is a powerful move, but Trigger is not doing that. It's a 4K blink idea again. And this time, I really like it. There is no quick stim. This is not a 3-Rex. We're looking at, I mean, it is technically a 3-Rex, but this is a 3-1-1. All right. This is timed out to hit it. Stim's going to be ready at 6 minutes, 6:30, something like that. Where Clem wants to sweep across the map with a couple tanks and maybe a Raven if he decides to get that. And Stim, combat shields, +1, concussive shells, lots of bio. Trigger is hitting before then. So he's going to have 2 tanks to contend with, a couple Marauders maybe. But this army this is a really solid timing for him now. So seems like Clem is aware of this, dropping a second bunker on the low ground, 2 tanks at the high ground. He is battening down the hatches for the coming storm here of our Protoss player. And Trigger's actually, he's doing this a little differently. Third base on the way, but he's got a bunch of stalkers at the front he's thinking about. He's got 4 stalkers in the Warp Prism in the main. So he's going to try to multi-prong Clem to death with a 4-gate. That is interesting there. He's going to find the tank on the high ground, eats a couple shots, but really no hull damage. Really no hull damage at all. Clem is, I mean, this is 4-gate, but like Trigger's playing this almost like a macro 4-gate. Like, this is really interesting. There are 3 tanks. The timing where it felt like Trigger was going to be able to make something happen is almost done, but it feels like this might just be a game time decision. Where he runs across the map and realizes, okay, 2 bunkers, tanks, Stim's going to be done very soon. I don't think so. I don't think I want to do that. Instead, I'm going to go and I'm going to get my 3rd base, and I'm going to get additional gateways and a robo bay and charge. I'm just going to keep this army alive, and then if you try to run across the map, well, I'm going to have 4 gates. I'm going to have 7 gates. I'm going to have 8 gates. I'm going to really have a lot more production than I might normally have at a time like this. So your counterattack, Clem, it's going to be very difficult for it to work. So let's see if that is going to be the case. For now, Stalkers at the front, just being a little bit obnoxious. And I love this from Trigger. This is like the next level defensive immortal. It's a defensive disruptor. If Clem wants to run across the map, hit this timing, as we've been talking, right? Stim, combat shields, +1. A disruptor makes that very hard. A disruptor makes that very hard indeed, especially with charge on the way. And a Colossus should be done. In fact, Clem is rallying onto the other side of the map. Disruptor, hiding it. He wants to drag Clem in, but Clem drops Stim. Not going to find that value. So now you got to run away here. And this is a dead disruptor now. I don't think you can save it. The Warp Prism, where is it? Where is the Warp Prism? If you're going to do that, I think you want to have the Warp Prism. I like the idea there to snipe off a lot of the army and win into the timing. But even still, where is this Warp Prism? It's on the other side of the map, beelining home. Clem is just taking a fight before the Colossus gets here, and it's working out tremendously for him. These Zealots are all going down, and Trigger is just, it's not good enough. It is not good enough at all. I loved the ideas, right? The random disruptor made a lot of sense. Now the Colossus, I mean, trying to do what you can, taking a page out of Nina's book. Colossus drops, hot pickup, just keeping yourself alive here. But there are 2 tanks, 1 volley, and the Colossus is almost dead. The 3rd tank there, the Colossus would die instantaneously. Even still, lots of damage. Trigger looking for range, looking for value, looking for maybe a couple Zealots on the backside to find a little bit more here. But the tanks, they continue to wedge their way in. It's a limited time. It's a limited time engagement that Trigger's going to have to fight with, and he's supply blocked. So Zealots on the backside. This is going to have to be it, Trigger. Do you have what it takes to win this fight? For now, 1 tank goes down, 2nd one goes down. The bio comes spilling down the ramp. But it's not enough, not just yet, and 2 Colossus are here. Stalkers blink onto the high ground. Clem doesn't find that one either, and Trigger holds on. It's not easy, not simple, but Trigger takes that fight, or at the very least, he stays alive. And now with 2 Colossus here, no Vikings, this becomes a lot more difficult for Clem to deal with, and we're gonna have that 3rd Colossus very, very soon. Extend Thermal Lance is done, and this range is insane. It's so hard for Clem to take the fight, even as he has such a heavy supply advantage. Everything else, the Colossus getting microed backwards here. Trigger is just fighting. He's holding on for all of his worth, getting maximum damage out of everything here. Blinks forward, gets a couple more Marauders, and our supply is starting to equalize a little bit. There are 3 Colossus on the field here. Widowmine gonna have to, doesn't quite get the save. Not the right Zealots, but even still, fun idea here. Saves, there we go. Saves that Zealot. But we're going to have 3 Colossus on the field. And Triggers, he's trying to turn the table. He's down a little bit in army supply. Down 18, 20 army supply. But his tech is in such a solid spot. He moves forward, tries to get the Viking. Doesn't get it. And now, this fight right here is going to be the tournament. 3 Colossus. Clem's got us around once again. He didn't win the fight once. Let's see if he can make it happen. And this time, Trigger, though, he's being so careful, being so patient. He wants to trigger one side of the fight before everything is ready. And just force it when Clem's not quite ready yet. But the Vikings coming in more and more here. This concave from Clem is just absolutely beautiful. And it does not seem like it's going to be enough here. Not from Trigger, not anymore. Army on the right side moves, wins the fight. Army on the left side moves the fight here as well. But the Colossus are still here. Clem he can't get them down. 1 Colossus ever so low, but the supply gap is not increasing. Or it's not decreasing. Trigger can't fight his way through, so he's going to have to back up, I think, but he's committing harder. He's committing harder. Archons are on the way. +1, halfway done. He's not probing up behind this. He's got 55 probes. No double gas on the third. 55 probes is where he's going to have to stay here, but he is starting to get a little bit of damage. Starting to take a little bit of damage. So let's see what exactly. In fact, Trigger's going to back up here. I guess that's going to have to be the play. He wanted to end the game. He felt too far behind, but now he's probing up. Now he's building disruptors. +1 just about done. 4th base on the way. But as I say that, maybe it was a bit of a fake back. Oh, look at that. Oh, Trigger. Man, he has leveled up so much since he's gone to Europe. I mean, this is not a Trigger we were seeing a bit ago. Getting the feedbacks there, it's only on 2 of the 4 ghosts, but you shut down a lot of the power of Clem's army. 2 EMPs versus 4 is a massive, massive difference. And now Trigger's got his 4th base just about up, halfway done. Big thing now. He's down upgrades. He's only on a single forge. Feels like he needs a second here. So, ooh, getting a couple random Widow Mines. That's nice. Just have to be careful with how far he runs, though, because the army is looking to chase him down. And Stemmed Bio, it runs just a little bit faster than Stalkers. But there we go. Okay. Blink away, recall. Loses 2 Stalkers, but gets a couple Widow Mines. I think got an SCV as well. And now, Zealots into the 3rd base here. I can't believe the level of play we're seeing from Trigger today. Regardless if he wins this series. And make no mistake about it, he is behind in this setup. Oh, he gets another Viking. Very well done, Trigger. The level of play we're seeing from Trigger this series is kind of ridiculous. This is, I don't know if it's fair to say MaxPax level, but if it's not MaxPax level, if it's not hero level, it is a half step below. Like Trigger has, in the last month or so, Trigger has truly leveled up to a level that I have not seen. Like, he's always had promise, but this is just looking incredibly good. So, +2 attack now on the way. Disruptors getting added on in here, and we're looking at 7 Vikings, 3 Colossus, and you might say, okay, that's barely enough. These Colossus are paper right now. They have no HP. They only have shields. You have to be so careful if you're Trigger about how you're going to take this fight, and look at the surround that Clem is setting up. 3/4 of his army supply on the right side. Just a little bit left to put pressure on. That's a great scout from Trigger, actually. Now he's aware of what's happening. Has to rotate most of his army over. Keeps 1 Colossus, Disruptor, couple Stalkers on the left side. He is aware of what Clem is trying to do, and he is just handling it appropriately. Stalker blinks out, has the solid scout. And now, this drop, I mean, it's solid. It kills off a cannon. You know, that's okay. But Trigger is keeping his 4th base alive. He's up in economy here. He's got double forge. 2-1 is on the way. He is...
Game pause.
Oh, we got a pause. Unfortunate pause. I think Trigger has fought his way back into this game now. Maybe a little bit behind on the upgrades. It's kind of the one bad thing, but he's up 5 workers, 4 bases to 4 bases. Army supply roughly parallel. His tech is great. He's got a bunch of disruptors. He's got Colossus as well. He's maybe missing a Dark Shrine. You know, that's kind of the one thing. DT blank, 12 gates. He's only on 8 still. But in general, kind of feels like he's fought his way back into this game, and we're going to go right back into it here. So, there we go. That's unfortunate. We're going to follow my YouTube. Or follow my Twitch. Sub to my YouTube. There we go. Trigger thinks about this fight. Interesting. He's going to try to flood down the ramp here. Thinks an opportunity, but Disruptor won't really land. And this is a big concave coming on in from Clem once again. Disruptors this time are not going to land with a tremendous power they did in game number 4. Stalkers blink forward, though. Was that a... Oh, no, that's just the Dying Colossus. Okay. Trigger now loses a lot of the beef of this army here with those Colossus going down. Even still, Disruptors are nice. Stalkers blink forward under the aegis of Shield Battery. Not that bad. Could have been worse. Still rough. But Trigger just got a little bit too antsy. Trigger just got a little bit too antsy, trying to trigger the fight a little bit too early. But still, he's holding this high ground well. Disruptor shots are just keeping Clem zoned out, and Trigger's got his 5th base just about done. And again, I love what we're seeing from Trigger in this tournament, where the moment he loses his Colossus, he rebuilds them, because Vikings are, well, actually, in this case, Vikings are not gone. There are still 9 Vikings on the field. He wasn't able to kill them, so that's actually a little... Where are these Vikings at? Are they back at home? Yeah, Clem is wise to trigger straight. That is such a smart play. Even as he lost the Vikings to the front, he didn't sacrifice them. Okay, so that's what happened. I think maybe there were 1 or 2 left over, but he rebuilt the Vikings. He was aware of how Trigger has been playing heavily. I mean, heavily into this Colossus play, because again, 10 range is nothing. 10 range is nothing to shake a stick at. So actually, the move back into Vikings here is really cool from Clem. It's just such an excellent read on the series. Star sense, I guess, is maybe what you want to call it. And now both players are on 5 bases. Trigger struggling to max out, but he's got a ton of gas, so maybe moving into DTs, something like that one. And I feel like I want more probes, though. He's only on 67. Now the question we ask ourselves as we kind of get into this slightly stagnated late game is what's the next inflection point here? Trigger's going to try to put pressure on the map right now. Down 30 army supply, but actually, I mean, he doesn't really have much of a timing. He's down an upgrade. He's not fighting off that. He got 1 Colossus. This just seems to be pressure. Kind of the thing here. Trigger maybe... Oh, that's what it is. Okay, he's putting pressure forward because he wants to run by all these DTs onto the 5th base of Clem. But Clem is wise to Clem is wise to this idea for now. The +3, +2 is just about done. This might be the timing. You run in, you attack with your 3-2 timing. DTs just jump on top. That is... Yeah, this is a dead planetary. That is 12 DTs getting ready to attack in. Meanwhile, Clem on the map. He's going to force a recall, I think, out of Trigger. Maybe he's just going to fight. He's just going to run back. This is awkward right now. This feels like a dead base. But Shield Battery Overcharge. Actually, no. There's just not enough energy, I guess. Yeah. Okay, the base was EMP'd. So that's just not enough. Trigger kind of stuck in the middle of the map here. This is awkward. Base will fall down. And the DTs, they're still not committed. They're still not committed up in the north side. That snipe, that possibility that Trigger's been trying to build up for himself, not there. And I think he could have. Now he's going to run in and, well, that's dead planetary. SCV repair is not enough. There we go. That is a lot of DTs, and there's going to be the recall. So 10 workers go down. I think maybe 1 Dark Templar died on the exchange, but it's a dead planetary. Clem now down onto 4 bases. Trigger, technically on 4, but he's got the 5th base on the way, so that's going to be fine. And these DTs defensively, well, they get EMP'd to their death. That's not great. And that is a lot of invisible men becoming rapidly visible and falling down, which is not really what you want. But Trigger on the front here, fighting under everything. Vikings are going to land. Trigger thinks he's got maybe an opportunity. That Liberator raining Hellfire needs to get targeted down. Will do so. And that was awkward. That was not... I don't think that was a good fight for Trigger. Even if he gets 11 workers, even if everything else happens, even if he took the fight maybe when his opponent was distracted, but now he's starting to build tempo here. Now he's starting to try to make Clem's hands really fail. That's going to be a dead base, and Well, we're going to see some missile turrets go down at the very least. DTs blink out, and Zealot Stalkers run away. More disruptors getting added in. Only one on the map right now. Trigger's trying to play this late game gateway man style, something that Hero loves to do. But he's just, it's not there. He doesn't have the economy. He's only on 67 workers. It doesn't feel like he has the economy really to support that, as we will see the missile turret go down. And now heavy damage to the workers. 5, 6, 5. Okay, actually DT tried to run away, but concussive shells means that does not happen. And now, I don't think, despite the base count lead that Trigger has, he's up 6 bases to 5. And remember, one of those bases was killed recently for Clem. Despite that, I don't think that Trigger has the money. I feel like Trigger's economy is just starting to fall behind a little bit, and he's trying to make a late game Stargate transition, which is interesting. I think that's very valid if you have the money for it. I'm just not convinced that Trigger does, especially his gas count. It's rather lacking as Clem floods down the map here. Liberators siege up everything. Trigger has to run away. It's not a good fight. Liberators run through their liberation zone's freedom. It is going to be 2 free, so Liberators will fall. But now Warp Prism in the main base here, but it's not worth a lot. Main base is production, sure, but Liberators seize that up for the most part, and that's going to be fine. But hey, actually, this singular DT worth quite a bit. I don't know how many scans are available. Stalkers warp in here as well, but that feels like a mistake. The army starts to rally on over. Liberators get targeted down well as they can. Stalkers blink outside. Meanwhile, north side base from Trigger goes down. Far more effective damage, and there is just no solid way to deal with these late game +2 Liberators. They 2-shot the Stalkers, 1-shot with an EMP, and it is just not going to happen. Trigger had opportunities. Oh, he had opportunities. But Clem shows the class at the end of the day, and Trigger does not complete the reverse sweep. Clem does it. Man, what a series from the young Canadian. That was fantastic. But also, if you like this, you want more like this, I upload StarCraft Gats 7 days a week, 2 p.m. Eastern every time. VOD will go live, and that means you should like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to really not miss anything. Hit that notification bell as well. And also, I stream live on Twitch a couple days a week, certainly Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern for EPT North America, and I'll see you there.